name is Rachel, and today I want to tell you about some series that I don't plan on finishing. So as with everything on BookTube, it's all subjective to what you like, so please don't be offended if I am not going to finish your series, but definitely feel welcome to try to encourage me to change my mind, because I'm always open to adding books back to my TBR, that's for sure. So these are in no particular order. I'm just going to go through some of them and talk through them a little bit. And like I said, feel free to try to convince me to carry on with the series down below, or let me know some that you're not going to read anymore, or if you think I've made the right choice in not continuing on with these. So, first one is the Bridgerton series. I thought this was okay. This was a lot of fun. I do think this has opened my eyes to maybe trying out some other historical romances, but there was just something I did not like about this author's writing style. Maybe it's particular to the first one, I'm not sure, but I just do not have the urge to read on in this series at all. I haven't even watched the second season of the show. I don't know. I'll think about it, but I probably won't read anymore. I may watch the rest of the show, but I probably won't read any more of these books. But, you know, it was what it was, and I'm glad I at least read one when it was all the rage. Next up is the Name of the Wind series. I think this is called the Kingkiller Chronicles. Whatever. I made myself read this behemoth fantasy book, even though that's not my thing, because I thought maybe it could be my thing. And I have to say I'm still really proud of myself for reading this whole chunk. That's why I still have this book. I read this whole one, and I read the short stories, like the slow something or other, I don't know. But I just have no interest in reading the second one, since it doesn't seem like the third one is ever going to come out. So I've just decided to let the series go and just be happy that I read this behemoth fantasy book. Go Rachel. I think I just blocked it because it was, I think I enjoyed it, but it was just too much. It was just too much. I have like a block when we get to too much fantasy. I like fantasy, but I don't like too much fantasy, and I think we just stepped into that with this. So I'm probably going to keep this one on my shelf forever because I'm so proud, but I probably won't read anymore. Next up is one that really is shocking me, but I'm just gonna have to admit the facts here, and that is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I loved this book. It's all tabbed up. I've read it 2 or 3 times now. A couple times I've read it in one day. I love this book, but I just cannot make myself read the second and the third one. I think because of the introduction of the love triangle, I just don't want to go there. I just want to be happy with how this one ends with our love story. I like who she ends up with at the end of this one. I don't want to go through a whole nother person, even though I'm sure it's going to be adorable. I just don't have the capacity for it. So I think I'm just going to leave it at this one. This is probably the one on the list that I could be persuaded to change my mind on the easiest. Because I love this book, but I don't know. I am getting rid of my other 2 because I've had them for years and I haven't read them. I keep going back and rereading this so that I'm ready to read the next ones in the series, but it just doesn't happen. But if you haven't read this by some chance, please do. It's adorable, little romance. I love it. Next up is You by Carolyn Kepnes. I will say that I read the book and I was blown away. It's very different from other things that I've read. I read the book and then I watched the show, and I think I liked the show better than I liked the book. So I just can't make myself go back and read books now. I just want to read the show. That's usually a problem I have if I watch the show first. So that's why I always try to make myself read it first, because I usually like the books better. But in this case, I don't know. I like Joe a lot better on the show, which makes it even creepier and more fun to watch. So yeah, I probably won't be reading anymore in this series, but I will definitely keep watching. Next up, and this one is also kind of surprising to me, but that is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. I read the first one and I really enjoyed it. I read the second one and it was pretty good. I still haven't read the third one, and I think that might be where I stop. I just really don't have any interest in reading out beyond the original trilogy that our main author wrote, that our creator wrote. He has other writers writing the rest of the story because sadly he passed away before like a fourth book could come out. And yeah, I just don't really have any interest in switching to a different author for the story. So I do have the third one still on my TBR. I am planning to read that at some point, but I think that'll be the end of the Millennium series for me. The rest of these I don't actually have my copy of anymore, so I'll just flash them up here on the screen. First up is The Women's Murder Club by James Patterson. I read like the first like 1, 2, maybe 3, but I'm not interested in these characters. I don't want to read them. I got into these with my mom because her and I started collecting all of these like serial books that were very popular at the time, through like garage sales and thrift stores and library sales and all that. We were getting the Alphabet series by Sue Grafton, the Number series, the Stephanie Plum series from Janet Ivanovich, and then this Murder Club series from Patterson, because there's also Number. So they were really easy to find and keep track of which ones we needed. So we started buying them all up and reading all of them, and I am slowly making my way through all of them, but I'm just not interested in the James Patterson series like at all. Like I said, I read the first couple and I'm like, nah. I really do like the Stephanie Plum series though, and I really like the Sue Grafton series as well. So I highly recommend those if you're looking for some sort of like serialized 90s series that carries on till today. But yeah, I could not get into James Patterson. Next up is one that I don't know how I feel about this one. I kind of feel disappointed that I have not been able to complete it, but I also feel like, why am I making myself read this when I'm not really that interested? And that is the Percy Jackson series. I very much appreciate the series and I recommend it all the time to my students, but I just could not get that into it myself. I read the first 2. I'm just not that into it. So I decided just to move on and let it go and quit torturing myself because I had them on my shelf and I'd look at them all the time like, you've got to read some of these. And I just never felt like I wanted to carry on with the series. So I'm just going to let it go. We're just going to let it go. The next one is The Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I read the first one. It was okay. And I just don't have any interest in reading any further. I love the covers. Again, it's a series that I recommend to the kids all the time, but it just didn't work for me personally, and I just have no interest in continuing on with the series. Another one that I kind of knew going into the first book was The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I did not think I would like these from the onset, but we were reading Sender for my student book club, so I kind of had to read it, and I was like, I don't have any interest in continuing on with the series. I love the idea of the series, but it's just not for me. I'm not huge into like fairy tale retellings much. I say that, but then there are some that I like, but I feel like it's very, very rare that I like those. The only kind of fairy tale retelling I like is Beauty and the Beast because it's very Pride and Prejudice, which is just me. But like Cinderella, yeah. Red Riding Hood, yeah, I mean, I'm just not that interested, so I'm letting that series go as well. And last but not least, it was also kind of a surprise, but it's very similar to The Reason for You by Carolyn Kepnes. This is the Dexter series, and now that I said that, I can't remember that guy's name, like Jeffrey something. I'll put it up here. I'll put the cover up so you can see it. But again, I read the book, then I watched the show, and I liked this show so much better than the book. Dexter is so much more likable, even as a serial killer, in the show than he is in the book. So I just don't see any other reason to continue reading the books when I'm not enjoying the storyline and the characters as much as I do on the show. So I finished the show, but I will not be finishing the books. So there you have it. Those are my top list of series I'm not going to continue. There's plenty more, but we don't have time for me to list them all. I feel like typically they're ones that I read for school so I can recommend to the kids, and going into it, I know it's probably not going to be for me, but I want to have the experience to recommend it, so there's no reason for me to read further. I kind of get what the series is about, and I can go from there and recommend it. So I feel like a lot of the ones that I haven't mentioned fall into that kind of range where I've read it, but I'm not going to continue. Like I said, definitely try to convince me if you think I should keep reading. Let me know if you are DNFing any of these series as well, and let me know your top series that you are not going to be finishing. I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video soon. Bye for now.